Connect with. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Hey there, Nicole. What would you like to connect on today?
Hey there, Ritch Yvonne. I would like to connect on friendships and the idea that the show Insecure kind of shows that ebb and flow.
Nice.
What would you like to connect on this week?
I would like to connect on some tips to make friends.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. More of that on the Hallspace Podcast.
See you soon.
Welcome to the Hallspace Podcast. It's about connections. I'm your host, Dr. Ritch Hall, and this is a weekly conversation about whatever and however I see to connect things. For people who want to connect, chat, and learn a thing or two about a thing or two. Without further ado, let's start the show. Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome back to the Hallspace Podcast.
Welcome back if you're a regular, and welcome if you are new.
If you're joining us for the first time, I'm Ritch Hall, and I'm here with my lovely and capable co-host,
Nicole Hall. Hey there.
Hey, everybody. And we are here talking about things. The Hallspace Podcast is about connections. So we usually try to connect with each other over some sort of topic.
And then with you.
Our audience.
Via the interwebs.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's what we are here for today. We're broadcasting live from S&T Studios on the internets. It's going to be a short one today because we're low on time. It's late. We're a little late getting started.
And if you're regular listeners, you know we're always late and we got to pick our kids up, and so we got to get it together. But
we got things we got to do.
Yep.
And so we're running behind. And as a result, we're just going to bang out a show real quick, give you guys a quickie, and then we'll get on with our night. But we hope we enlighten you a little bit with our topics and discussion.
Yeah, and that'll be fun.
Yeah, we were just meeting with some friends over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a very wild time in the Hall House. So just for an update, a lot of birthdays happening. Nicole started her new job, so it's been a very whirlwind 2 weeks.
Yep. So I feel like since Halloween, it's been Halloween, and then your birthday, and then Victoria's birthday, and then with those birthdays, we do something the day of, and then we have a party for the family on the on the weekend, and then we had some friends come into town that we never get to see, so we had dinner with them, which was great.
Yes.
So that kind of.
So it's been very busy, and then next week is super busy.
Yeah.
And then next week is actually our quiet weekend a little bit. Before
so this week is a quiet
happens.
week, and then next week, I don't know if y'all know, but next week is Thanksgiving.
A week after next.
So this week.
There's a week, and then the week after that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if I say the week after next, then I'm going to think it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
I mean, it technically is 2 weeks away.
Technically, yeah, but
we have to
prep that I need.
We still need to be mentally making preparations. We still
need to be,
So we need to be working on that.
We
are not working on that.
And we've got your dad's birthday. We've got the boys getting baptized. We've got
the twins' birthday.
And then it's Christmas.
Yeah.
And so
just a host of responsibilities,
things.
And
they're all fun
stuff.
things.
No one can hear us. Our mic is muted.
Oh,
so
start over.
I mean, I guess we can. That was 3 minutes of talking.
Can you hear us
I've
now?
been recording it, so I can add it later. But welcome, Dr. Ritch Hall, my lovely and capable co-host,
Nicole Hall. Hey there.
And this is the Hallspace Podcast, wherein we connect with you, our audience, and with each other on various topics.
Right.
And we were, as we were saying, it's been a whirlwind 3 weeks because Halloween happened, my birthday happened,
Victoria's
birthday happened. We get a 1 week off, and then Thanksgiving happens. Then my dad's birthday, twins' birthday.
Ra's performance. He plays the Beartown band performance.
Yes, and then
the boys
Christmas
are going to get
happens.
baptized.
Yeah, so many things are happening in our lives right now.
Yeah.
And we're inviting you into this. I will say that we haven't talked about this, but the show is going to go on hiatus from Thanksgiving to New Year's. Just to give us
need the time.
It's
a lot, y'all.
and usually between then we kind of retool a little bit and think about what we're doing for the show.
Yeah.
But
We're doing that Chick-fil-A take time with your family on Sundays thing.
Right. We'll be doing that for those 5 or 6 Sundays between Thanksgiving and New Year's. And then we'll be back alive in January.
Yeah.
And there may be a sprinkle of some things in between them, but I always promise that, and then I don't have the time to make it happen.
No, because then you get rolling and it's just a lot of
There's
stuff.
always so much going on. So much going on.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's the catch-up. Have we done enough of the catch-up stuff?
We have done the catch-up stuff.
Okay.
And so today's topic
is friends.
How many of us have them?
Friends. Someone you can depend on.
Let's be
friends. Before we go any further, friends. So I was reading an article that came up on NPR on my Facebooks, and I will share that briefly here. And this article was about making friends as an adult is hard. And I thought it was a valuable thing to discuss and to really kind of think about, because we often talk about this in between ourselves. And I hear it from so many people that, it was easier to make friends at one point in your life. And now it's a lot more difficult to try and identify people to be friends and to sort of make friends.
And then to maintain that friendship.
And to maintain friendships as an adult. And so the article talks about some of the ingredients that need to be in place for us to make friends organically.
Okay.
And some of the tips for forming new friends is to be intentional. It's called making friends for a reason. So you have to set out to do it. You have to go on planned regular interactions. One of the reasons that friendships can drift apart is because people don't really get to spend any time together. And that's a challenge for many people. One of the things that I know I value about friendships is if we can remain friends, even if we don't get a chance to talk a lot.
Yes.
That to me, that means that
like
we
time
are
hasn't
true
passed.
Friends. Yes.
Yeah.
Like if we can reconnect and keep some of that chemistry.
Well, I mean, again, it's like you said, it's about the connections, right? So I'm still connected to you, even though I haven't seen you in 3 months.
Right. And there is no awkwardness or sense of, I don't know what we're supposed to talk about. What do I talk about?
Well, what do I do with my hands? Yeah.
It's just we sort of can fall into that.
Right.
And so intentional about making friends, planned regular interactions.
Okay. And those are obvious, right?
Yes.
Like those are.
One key thing is assume that people already like you. And I could spend 20 minutes talking about this one.
This one is the one that I did not see coming.
That's the one that tanks the most people.
It is. Assume that people already like you, because I think the hesitation to starting with friends, introducing yourself, beginning the friendship, maintaining the friendship is that you assume maybe they like me, but they don't.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of a big deal to really getting into a long lasting true
We're often
friendship.
So judgmental about our relationships and our friendships.
We are, and we're also very hard on ourselves.
Yes.
Right? So it's like,
super hard on
I just
ourselves.
made this dumb joke with our friends last night. They probably don't like me anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not true.
And more likely than not, they're not thinking about that dumb thing you said
At
nearly
all.
as much as you are after it's been said.
At all. Because
Like
they have their own lives and their own
they're
thoughts.
like, wasn't it weird when she made that joke? Yeah, it was kind of weird. But then
Maybe.
that's the most that you could expect.
If they bring it up at all.
Right.
Now family will remember stuff until you die, but that's different. But with friends,
and what's funny about
like,
family is there's some things that family doesn't even remember to bring up because they got their own lives. And so there's some of the stories that went into the vault by just accident.
Yeah. Well, but too, with family, and a lot of people that are friends are also like family. Like you get close, you'll bring it up and it's like, man, you were so weird last night. And then it's like, all right, moving on.
Right. There's so much other stuff going on.
Yeah. Well, and there's still the value to the connection that you've made to that person.
Yes.
That, okay, I'm weird.
Yeah.
But it's just going to be like, I'm weird. It's just going to be what it is.
For me and my friendships, it's, most people should know that I'm a hair weird. And they might see me. I mean, just enough.
Like on a scale of 1 to 10.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably like a 7. I'm unapologetically weird and have been for quite some time. And in part, I realize the reason I could be that way is because I know I have friends and a family that care about me.
That value you the way you are.
If I
Absolutely.
didn't, then I probably would question that more and be more unsettled in my opinion of myself. But I have just enough ego that I'm like, I mean, I could be about this weird and not have to worry about it. Like I'm constantly talking to people and interacting with people who are like, but what if someone thinks something of me? It's like, what does it matter? I don't actually know what their thoughts are. And more often than not, if I think I know what they're thinking, I'm just projecting my own insecurity.
You absolutely are. And honestly, with your true friends, You can go full weird, and they get it.
And they get it.
You know,
now you have to build those friendships
you
intentionally. You have to choose people.
You have to build them and then maintain them.
Yes.
Because there is a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You
and
could
choose
build a
people
friend
who can get your weirdness. And a lot of times when we're younger, we assume that friendships are always happening organically, in part because they are. Your threshold for what makes a person a friend is much smaller when you are a young person.
And so when you talk about being an intentional and setting up planned and regular interactions, some of that when you're very young is proximity, right? So
proximity is always a factor in formulating friendships.
There are a number of kids that I've connected with on Facebook that we grew up on the same street together.
Yeah.
And so we spent every day of the summer together. We don't really know each other in the same way that, you know, I do with my really close friends that, you know, we really work hard to maintain the friendship. But, you know, when we were kids, you kind of went outside and you're like, hey, do you want to play with me?
Right.
Yeah. And then you keep playing together.
Right.
And you just keep that going. Right.
Right.
I think nowadays.
And so kids don't need much. You just need someone who's willing to play with you.
Yeah.
And as kids will fight. They will fall out. They will have all these disagreements.
And then they'll be fine the next day.
And they're perfectly fine because they still want to maintain that connection. And so very often for little kids, there isn't much of a threshold for what makes them a friend and
what doesn't.
They're willing to forgive betrayals because they just don't they don't retain them. It's a thing that happens.
Yeah. Now I will say this: there is and I know, you know, nowadays could be completely different, but I did notice that my friendships with my girlfriends and my brother's friendship with his guy friends were different. So my brother could get in a fight, like a physical fight with a boy one day, and then 2 hours later, they're playing basketball together.
They might not hold grudges with each other.
Exactly. And so, you know, like I've had fights with girlfriends and it's, you know, it's like, okay, well, I need a day to breathe. And then, you know, the next day is a different story. But I think like for me, my path in friendship is different than probably yours.
Yeah.
Right?
And gender is often a factor in how well people make friends. Like guys usually make friends around doing things like sports. Yeah. That is one thing for me that is often a challenge in making friends with guys is I don't care at all for the sports ball. And so when guys sort of fall into that as a topic of discussion, I have nothing to add.
You don't connect with them the same.
I don't. There have been times in the past where it's like I'll learn a particular sports fact and in casual conversation you can kind of throw that out. But with like my friends, it's like, oh, did you see the Kobe Bryant thing that Kobe Bryant did?
He did the thing with the ball and he...
and I remember saying that to one friend and he was like, you don't have to do this. And I was like, thank you. I'm sorry.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Appreciate it. Because I only had that one fact. And after that, I was in the weeds. And so it's often very difficult if you don't have shared experiences or the ability to connect on shared experiences and communicate some aspect of your inner world that the other person
and I was
cares about.
I was gonna say that the idea that, you know, as a kid we sort of had these very boxed in sort of girls friends with girls, boys friends with boys. Like ultimately it really does. I mean, I know that we've evolved since then to the point where it's like, what connects you to that person, what works well? Because there's some people that I'm friends with that are the opposite sex and, you know, vice versa. And you just connect on different things, right? Yeah. So like for you, you know, we went out with friends, Patty and Scott, shout out to them.
Shout out to Patty and Scott.
Yeah. Like you and Patty really connected on like work stuff.
Yes.
You know, and so there's the idea that if you're open to the idea of connecting with the person, regardless of like the things that you have checked in your head, that could really open up opportunities for some really good friendships to form.
Yes. And once again, you have to be open to making those connections in order for people to feel like, you're worth it to be around in a way.
Yeah.
And, you know, I often use this metaphor for friends is that a lot of times we don't actually define how we understand friendships. And so you could have a lot of people in your life who have positive regard for you, but you're not thinking of them as necessarily a friend.
Yeah.
And so the metaphor that I use is called the house metaphor for friendship, where there are the people who are, you know, not even allowed on your lawn. There are some people who are in your life, they have a connection to you, but they're never really going to cross a threshold.
I love you from here.
Over there. That's
hey,
like
Bob from across the
coworkers
street.
and acquaintances and, neighbors.
Coworkers that you don't friend on Facebook. Let's be clear about that.
Right. Because you're not letting them at all into your inner world.
They don't need to know everything. I have some coworkers that have become friends, and we are, we are friends.
Yeah.
But all of them,
nah. And they shouldn't be necessarily, because there is a point in having discretion, boundaries. Like those connections still matter. Yes. And then there are the people who are allowed on the lawn, so you can entertain people on the lawn. They can know a little bit about you, but they might not know everything. And they might not know very much of anything, really. Okay. It might be largely a superficial relationship. There are people you'll allow on your porch. So that's, once again, another layer of getting to know you. But you might not invite them into the house. Like, there's secrets.
With your metaphors.
I use this a lot.
Okay.
Then the living room is where you might entertain for a party. So this person might know a little more about you, but it's still largely a superficial connection.
Yeah.
You might say work together in some capacity, like you do projects together, or you're in a church committee together, or whatever it is.
Right.
But they still don't know much deep about you.
Yeah.
And then the kitchen is where work is done. So if someone's allowed back into the kitchen, they're going to help you. So they know where the pots and pans are.
They're
they know how
washing
to
your
help
dishes.
you do some
They're mopping your floors.
Things like that.
Yeah.
And so that's the sort of deeper level of friendship.
Yeah.
And then the final layer is the bedroom. That's where the magic happens, right? So that's where someone really gets to know the intimate stuff. They know what's going on in your closet. They know whether or not you hung up your clothes. Like, they can really get deep inside.
Yeah.
And for the most part, one of the reasons I like this metaphor is very often when we're in our own home, we can see people having a party across the street and we can feel very alone when we haven't necessarily opened our doors up to let people in to our world, into our lives, into our friendship. And so we have to open the door for people to come in. And then as they come in, we have to decide at each level, like, are you good enough necessarily? Are we a good connection to let into the door?
Sometimes you start out on the street.
Yeah.
And then you're on the lawn.
Yeah.
And then you're on the porch.
Yeah.
And then you're in the living room.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, we're, in the bed watching my TV together, eating snacky cakes.
Yes.
So.
And you don't want everybody in your house, because
some people will tear up your
house.
You don't want everybody in your house.
Right.
You definitely don't want everybody in your bedroom.
No.
Right. There are certain people.
Because some people will put their dirty feet up on your bed, and you're like,
or they don't respect it, or they'll judge you, or there's
right. And so sometimes you might let people all the way in, and then realize, oh no, you're a person I gotta put out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I lost the other part of that metaphor.
The bedroom, and then is there anything deeper than the bedroom?
No, the bedroom is kind of the deepest. Oh,
the deepest.
Too many people can't fit in your bedroom.
Nah, that's true.
Right?
And
so some people are totally fine having a bunch of lawn friends. Some people are pretty good at having a lot of people in their living room. But you only like three or four people at the most are in the bedroom.
Yep.
And that can be, your lover, your romantic partner, as well as a couple of best friends. And more than that, it would get weird.
Right. You don't want 25 people in your
into your personal, most intimate space.
Yeah.
And a lot of times
that's a lot to maintain too, right? Like that's a lot to maintain and keep up with, and really put forth the effort that it takes to really do something like that.
And sometimes part of the reason that people feel so alone is they've never invited anyone onto the lawn. They've never invited anyone to the living room, and they want the connection that is a bedroom connection. Like they'd like to be able to tell their deepest, darkest things.
But they don't realize
that
there are levels to this.
But they haven't built that yet, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to watch. And it's one of those things that I literally deal with all the time in my practice. And I'll probably end up doing another show on this.
Well, I was going to say, you deal with college kids who are struggling with this specific issue.
A lot of homesickness / I don't know how to make friends.
Yeah.
And I literally have like 7 or 8 clients, and I'm just saying, go talk to 5 people. They look at me like I'm crazy for saying, how could they ever speak to 5 people? It's like, just say hi.
I said this the other night. I feel like it's definitely, there's a lot of it that's generational. I feel like the kids that are in college right now that you're seeing in your office are kids who probably didn't go outside and just rally everybody and ride bikes to the park, right? Like that's
they just didn't do any of those things. Yes.
I mean, and a lot of kids again, in these newer generations are getting driven to school. When we walked to school, we picked everybody up from their house.
You walked as a pack
along the way. It's a pack up and it was a pack back.
Yes.
And some people had extracurriculars, some kids didn't. Like, we took new ways to get home, but it was like, it was gang, right?
Yeah.
And so for the younger folks, I believe that this is definitely something that they're having to learn how to do. And then for those of us who are older, who have these established friendships, I feel like our struggle is always maintaining that friendship. And like you saying, it's being intentional, right?
Yes.
Not about making the friendship, but being intentional about spending time.
It might be about making the friendships too.
We're not making new friends.
See, that's funny that you say that. Some people do want to make new friends.
Oh, no, I got old friends that I'm still trying to catch up with. I'm good.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's one of the things like your aunt said.
Yeah, and I meant to get back to her because sometimes some of the reasons that we don't make new friends is because of a defense mechanism that comes from being older, being a little bit more conservative in our relationships, and feeling like we don't necessarily need new friends.
Because it's like starting over.
Yeah, but it still could be fruitful and valuable.
Yeah, I mean, I just started a job, and I like the people that I work with. Would I pull any of those people out to really? I don't know.
I don't know that you have to.
Right, and I think that's kind of what she's saying. Like, she's got her crew.
If you feel like you have a crew, then you're fine. But there's a lot of people who don't feel like they have a crew and would like more. A lot of times we just sort of want to be positive regarded in the world. Yeah. And there's still a lot of people our age, older, who feel like they need, if not more friends, better friends, deeper friends, and often kind of want friendships. I can see that happening, especially for people who move a lot or people who just move to a new town or, I can completely see that. But like for me, my bedroom's full. I mean, I don't feel like you have the people you need.
I feel like
space.
to have the people. That doesn't mean that new people can't enter that space, but you're starting on the lawn essentially, right? And, and that's okay.
And as they should.
Yeah.
Most people should start on the lawn, and there should always be more people who aren't allowed past the lawn.
I think the people that
and particularly if you're an introvert. So extroverts are fine with having thousands of people. Like they need vast lawns. Because they don't actually necessarily know that many people that deeply, and they're fine with people being
donuts,
right, and they're having a great time. They're constantly having lawn parties.
Love it.
Their life
living
is a
room
lawn
is
party.
full. Their life is lawn. Their life is living room, and that's okay. Because I feel like for extroverts, it's like it's a party.
That's what they want.
I go outside, it's a party. I go inside, it's a party.
Right, right. They need that constantly going on for them.
I'm okay with my 3 in
You're
the
an
bedroom.
introvert, so you need. I'm a bit of an ambivert, so I need a combination of the two. But with a primary introvert energy, where it's like I know that fundamentally I'm fine by myself. I have to actually remind myself, no, you actually like hanging out with people, talking to people. Having a laugh with people.
Once you get out there, you're like, yes, this is good stuff. I'm the same way. Yeah. But speaking of friendships, I rewatched the show Insecure with Issa Rae, and one of the things that I've noticed throughout the whole series is this friendship between Molly and Issa, and a lot of people are like, no, this isn't right. And I'm like, if you've ever had a friend for a long time,
you have your ups and downs.
And then you figure it out. And I feel like that's the part of the show that I love so much, because it does show these ups and downs. You meet somebody at 15 and you ain't ever fell out with them and gotten back together.
The idea that no matter what, if you have two people,
there's going to be
things you
disagree. There's going to be a conflict.
There's
going to be the growing pains because you're moving on into.
Because you transition at different phases.
You're transitioning. You're getting married. You're having babies.
There's going to be a role change or a personal change that pushes you into being a different person. And does that person adapt with you?
Right, and everybody doesn't. But I feel like their relationship, specifically Molly and Issa, is that. Even through all of that, it is a great example
of the ups and downs of what a friendship that could be taxed,
and finding a way to transition to that next level together. And so I have you know, my crew and my friends and one of my best friends, like we have been up and we have been down, and I love her and she loves me, and that is just what it is. You know, and the cool thing about it is it's like, okay, man, growth. You know, and so it's good stuff when you can really be intentional, set up these regular interactions, whatever that means, because especially with the pandemic, it's been a lot of video calls and stuff like that when you don't live in the same place.
I think in some ways the pandemic has allowed me to connect better with some people and also sort of forget how long it's been since I've talked to people. Because it's like, oh crap, was that a year ago?
We're
2
in
years
the
ago?
twilight zones with the pandemic. We don't know
it's
what
like, we don't know when it is. You know how long it's been. As I've said, I can't wait for it to get past the 2-year mark so that I can finally start saying it's been 2 years of this thing, as opposed to like, how long is it? 13, 14, 15, 16. I think we're at 18 months of this. I don't know. So I very much appreciate the idea that we will one day be able to say we have done 2 years of this.
Remember that crazy pandemic?
Love to be able to talk about it in past tense. But to go back to the subject and to talk about what is being discussed in this article, make an ask and get the contact information. One of the things that we might do is we might have a positive interaction with someone and be like, oh, that was cool, but we won't like seek to reconnect with them. Right? Or a way to reconnect with them. It's like, hey, can I get your information so that I can like chat with you later or reach out to you at a different time? My
mind is blown. Is this a serious bullet point?
Yeah, like, people forget to do that.
Really?
Yes, all the time. I talk to 20-year-olds who will like have like full on like, you remember back in the day when you would walk from class with someone and you like have a 15-minute interaction and
you're like, man, they are great. I'll see you later. Because you hope to see them later, as opposed to really being intentional about, hey, let's go to the bar on Friday night or lunch in the caf on Tuesday kind of thing.
Right. You have to like take that connection seriously and like be intentional about wanting to connect with them offline. And I will always remember there was this time I was walking across campus. There was this guy in a full, like, he had a reflector vest. And I just walked up to him and said, why are you dressed like that? And it wasn't even just a reflector vest. He had on like reflector pants too. So I had the most interesting conversation
at night,
with
right?
him. Yeah, that's the guy who walked at night, and he was in Europe. He would do chalk outlines of the manhole covers.
Okay.
In Europe.
So he needed it to not
do
his
hit
job.
By cars while he was doing that. It wasn't his job. He just did it for fun.
Oh.
Because he found them interesting. He found them artistic. And so I had the best conversation. I walked from Tangement or from McMicken Hall all the way to where, if you remember where Skyline Chili used to be on Short Vine. So we walked the length of campus, just having a conversation. We talked about the bicameral mind. Like we talked about all these interesting things. And then he's like, I got to go get lunch. Do you want to get lunch with me? And I was like, no, I've actually got someplace else to be. I think I'm like going to see you, like my girlfriend or something. And probably. I just sort of bounce and never see him again.
But that interaction is so. Now let me say this too as well. There are multitudes of types of friendships, right?
Yeah.
And there's that age old reason, season, lifetime thing, right? And so there are going to be, if you're willing to interact, these times where you're having these people that you're just completely fascinated.
You connect with at the moment, but it might not turn into anything.
It may not turn into anything later, and you may never see them again. And then you have people that are like, "Oh, we were really great in high school, but I probably won't see you again either, and I don't really care to see you at the 10-year reunion. I wish you the best."
If we see each other, it's just hi, positive regard.
Right.
It might not be a deeper connection.
It's like the girl that worked at the Northgate Mall. It's like you guys all knew her, and it's like, "Oh yeah, hey, good to see you." Goodbye. Yeah. And then there are those long-term friendships that are just like.
Yeah. And sometimes people will have this intensely high regard for you and you don't know it. We don't have to walk around not knowing when people like us. Yeah. Because we're so hard on ourselves. Yeah. It's one of the things they talk about in the article to go back to that just briefly. They talk about don't be too hard on yourself. So one of the things we do is we often assume people don't like us as much as we don't we criticize ourselves, right? Yeah. So we'll very often
that voice in your head is brutal.
And act as if because we see things wrong with us, other people see things wrong with us, and thus we're unable to form a deeper connection because we just don't know how to bridge.
Because you can't get over the assumption
that people might not like something about us. And so I think it's very valuable for us to be aware of when we're being hard on ourselves and the role that takes in causing us to
how you interact with those people.
Yes, interact well and connect well.
Yeah.
And so that's probably a good time for us to take a break. So we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with more of the Hallspace Podcast.
See you soon.
So let me tell you about Anchor Podcast. It's the podcasting service that I use. Anchor.fm is the easiest way to make a podcast, and there are many different reasons why, but foremost is it's free. So you don't need to go out and buy a whole bunch of equipment. If you have a phone or a computer and a microphone, you can record and edit your podcast right on your phone or computer. So that's one major benefit, as well as the fact that they'll distribute your podcast to several different podcasting sites for you. Not only can your podcast be found on Anchor, it can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast as well. So you don't have to worry about going to all those different sites and setting yourself up. They'll do it for you. You can also make some money on your podcast. Say you have a podcast that only 5 people listen to on a regular basis. They don't limit you on how many subscribers you have to have in order to be able to make a little bit of change for your podcast to keep yourself going. So pretty much everything you need to start a podcast can be found at Anchor.fm. So go download the app either in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, or go to Anchor.fm to get started. And I guarantee you, it'll make things so much easier for you, like it has for me.
Love, relationships, the church, the world as we see it today, and many more thought-provoking conversations. This season of Speak Kaya, She's Come Undone Talk Sessions, coming to your ears soon. Keep watching.
Have you ever wondered why humans just aren't who we say we are? Psychologize You is a podcast by licensed psychologist Dr. Ritch Hall and licensed therapist Frank Baker. Join us as we explore why humans human the way we do. Hopefully, you'll learn a little bit about how the mind works, mental health issues, and ways to cope with this thing we call life. Weekly, wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Like as I said, this was a short one today, so we are back to talk a little bit more, and then we'll get out of here. But we're talking about the subject of friendships because of an article that I found on the internets. This article, which I accidentally closed.
You had 2 more points on there.
I did. Hold on. They gave me new layouts. I'm using Streamcast. I don't always know what I'm doing, but in it, I've been given some additional layouts.
Nice.
Yay. So, don't be too hard on yourself is a key one. Don't assume. I always tell people, don't go into interactions to making friends in bad faith. Don't assume that you're a horrible person, that no one wants to be friends with you, because you don't know. People might have good regard for you. And if you're telling yourself they don't want to be friends with you, then it's more than likely you will manifest that destiny.
And put that energy out there.
Put that energy out there. It makes it more difficult for them to connect with you. How can you connect with someone who doesn't want to be connected with? More often than not, we have a wall up when it comes to connections.
Yeah.
And so we do have to be aware that that wall is up and lower it. I would tell people to have a shield more than a wall, because a shield you can open up if you need a hug, but you can also raise it when something goes wrong. So being prepared in that way.
Well, and even if you have, no shield up and you kind of go deep in, you're allowed to pull back when you realize this isn't what you want.
Yes.
And then put up those boundaries, those barricades, those walls when you need to. But if you do that before you've even had a reason, then you can kind of be missing a good opportunity to meet somebody that could really be a good friend to you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So the last one is keep putting yourself out there. So one of the things they talk about in the article is someone like met a person, they were really cool, and they were like, hey, would you like to, be friends? And the guy said to him, nah, I already have enough friends. And then that rejection kind of stuck with him because it was like, well, people often assume everybody has all the friends they want. And I know for an actual fact that people do not, because I talk to people and hear their most precious and insecure secrets. And so I know most people want to be friends and or have friends. Now, they might not have the full commitment they might need in order to be around you as much as they might want, but they still want to have a deeper and better connection with more people. And so being open to that and keep trying to make those connections. A lot of it's like putting yourself in things, going to things. Meetup.com is still a thing, so you could still sign up for meetups in your area for people who have similar interests.
It should be easier in college,
I think it's
right?
Interesting. It is definitely easier in college
because there are
even
those
though the people have their
opportunities.
internal barriers that make it more difficult. But a college is built around the idea of getting people connected.
Absolutely.
If nothing else, you're in class with people for 4 or 5 times a day or for several hours a day.
You're in a caf with these people. You're in extracurricular
you're around
with
people
these
all the
people.
time.
You're in the lab
but it's also
with these
this
people.
time in your life where you're the most insecure, and so it's a little harder for you to put yourself out there. And what happens is once you remove yourself from the college environment where you're getting a diversity of experiences, you go into the workplace where now it's just these are the set people you're around.
And
so there's very significant limits.
You do have to work a lot harder
after that. And if it's joining a gym or I think it's very interesting that as we've removed the church from, and I'm not one of those people that says there should be prayer in schools or anything. I mean, I do believe
there should be prayers. I believe,
but whose prayers becomes the question. So
we're going to have a quiet time and you pray whatever prayer you want.
We're not a Christian nation. I do believe there should be meditation in school, which might include prayer, but people get all weird about it.
Meditate and pray. Pray.
There's a reason. I always say there's a reason every religion has a meditative component, and that's in part because the human brain is better when it stops to meditate.
I feel like that's a whole nother episode because I feel like they make everybody do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance.
So we're allegiance to our United States.
National allegiance is different than spiritual allegiance because we specifically wrote in the Constitution that this country should not have a national religion. So they founded the nation,
and they're wrong. So I should pledge to a country that. See, I know. All right.
You're getting into a really sticky place here. I am getting into
a whole different. I have feelings and thoughts about that. And we're supposed to have a short. But it's like, oh, we can't pray to God, but you should definitely be like America,
it's because it becomes who's God, and there was a time.
Who's America?
We talked about
the people who are under
Europe.
The foot. Like
Europe was very weird with the king would get a hair up his butt, and then now this is the national religion, and everybody had to follow it. And so when they came over, some of the Puritans were crazy, and some of the people were non-religious people. They were like, let's make sure that we make this nation not religious because we know how bad that gets when people do it.
I understand that because there are a lot of things that families should be able to decide amongst themselves spiritually, religious wise. I get that, but they don't have a problem making us pledge.
But so a national identity is different than a spiritual identity. You still need a national identity for it to be a nation.
I got to pledge to it every day.
Well, I mean,
with my hand to my heart, but I can't pray to my God.
Here's the thing. The national allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance didn't exist when the founders created the nation. That was a thing that they added on.
Now, but they're like, no prayer in school.
Here's the thing about so much of what we do now. We assume that what we do now, people have been doing for 100 years. But some of these things were just literally made up by advertisers who were trying to sell people things. So I believe the Pledge of Allegiance. I feel like that's
the whole idea. You could make up something that would include
meditation and prayer. So yes, so here's where we're actually in alignment. I believe that if we were to really sort of focus and change some of the ways in which our society is run,
and
adding meditation could be a valuable thing that we add. And I do believe that some people do it in the form of mindfulness and other things. So meditation and prayer
do it in
could
a way
be reintegrated into society. And I do believe we should do that.
Fair enough.
I get a little iffy when we say religion because everybody has different religions. So the Muslims are going to want to pray to Allah. The Christians are going to pray to God. The Jews are going to want to do.
You don't need to designate that part of it.
Yeah. Here's the thing about people who are in charge. Humans in charge love to relegate what people get to do.
No, I understand.
So you would
have
say
a
meditation.
school district that have people that are fighting masks to keep other people from breathing other people to get sick.
Yeah.
So no, I get that there is.
Even though
if I breathe on you and I cough, you're going to get sick.
Yeah.
So yeah. No, I just have feelings about that. But I mean, no, putting yourself out there.
Back to what we were talking about.
Back to what we were talking about. Mm-hmm. I feel like
keep putting yourself out there.
That sounds exhausting to me.
Well, so you don't have to do it all the time, every day. But if you do want to make connections, you have to make connections.
I would have to not have any connections to be like, all right, I guess I got to put myself out there.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing about women. Because women tend to form deeper relationships, often you're able to sort of get and keep the types of relationships that you want because women talk to each other more and they talk about their personal emotional health more than men do.
Yeah.
And so it's likely that you might have some really good friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I think, once again, when we're talking about what types of connections do you want, because very often when I'm teaching people how to do this, we're talking about what level of friendships do you want, right? So, so you know at this point in your life that having a coworker you can go to lunch with doesn't have to be a really deep relationship.
No, it could just be good fun.
But in order to make that connection, you have to put yourself out there. You have to say, well, you know what? I don't mind going to lunch with someone. I should ask people to lunch, which is funny because pre-pandemic, I was asking people to lunch all the time.
Right.
Post-pandemic, me just eats lunch by myself. I make myself a sandwich in my office.
And you're kind of...
And I hear people laughing in the hallways, but I'm like, I can't trust that.
They're breathing on each other.
They're breathing on each other.
Yeah.
All those laughs are puffs of air that are breaths that I don't want to breathe.
Yeah. I will say, you know, in my career over the years, there have been a number of employees that are kind of like, I mean, more times than not, they're like, hey, do you want to go to lunch? And then you go to lunch with them. You're like, man, you're awesome. We're going to go to Frisch's every week. This is what it's going to be.
This is cool.
I really like this. Yeah.
But you got to be open to it. If you're like, I don't like to eat with people. Ugh.
I don't like to eat with people.
I do this by myself.
I have. Hi, do you want to eat lunch with me?
Mm-mm.
No. Are you sure? Mm-mm. I mean, because it's our lunchtime. No, it's
Don't touch me.
But I like touching you. No. We're friends now. Yeah.
No, we're not.
No, I mean, and that's so.
I used to have a coworker who would say that he would say that people aren't friends. He's like, none of the I work with are friends. Now, what he was actually saying was, we are not close. We are acquaintances more than we are friends. But he would always he did it, and it was like he was one of those people who liked to rile people up. There's a guy named Anthony. He was an African. Not African, second generation African. So his parents were immigrants. Yeah. And he was just like, I don't have friends here. You're not my real friends. And you know, I remember there was this white lady who would get so upset about it. Like, why do you keep saying that? Like, because in her mind, all of these loose relationships
meant something to her.
Friendships.
Yeah.
And valuable because you're with these people 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Yeah. Now I was part-time, so I would duck in and out. Yeah. And what was funny to me was, I stopped coming into work during the day. I was only working on weekends. And I remember once I popped in for something because I had time to go in and do some work. And he was like, it's really good to see you. And I was like, I thought we weren't friends, Anthony. What was that? Good to see me?
His interpretation, again.
Once again, he thought lawn people weren't friends.
Right. And that's, I mean, again, that goes back to the whole idea that when you're talking about friendships, they don't all have to be bedroom.
They don't all have to be bedroom friends.
They could be bedroom, they could be kitchen, they could be living room, they could be lawn. Right. And it's okay to have all of that going on.
Have some variation of that.
Yep.
And that's valuable.
It's healthy and it's good.
It's absolutely healthy.
Yeah.
And so that when you're thinking about how to form connections, it's like, well, if you're feeling alone in the world, invite some people onto your lawn. Yeah. If you're feeling like you need a deeper connection, everybody's not going to be a good person on the lawn into the bedroom.
To the living room.
But check it into the living room. Would you like to come out and do a thing? Just you have to go to a secondary location. Yeah, it's impossible to not. Yeah, you know, if we're work friends and I'd like this to be a deeper connection, then I gotta invite you somewhere else. Do you want to grab a drink or something? Yeah. And you got to be thoughtful of that. You got to say to yourself, I got to ask this person to go do a thing. Yeah. They're really cool. I remember throughout my life at this point, at 44 years old, there have been literally dozens of people that I wish I had gone to lunch with. And I don't lament that anymore, but I remember at the time
I'd be cognizant of the idea that,
if I had pushed into a more of a space.
It's like it's like you said on this last point, yourself out there see how it goes. Right. I mean, like our first date, it was like, all right, we're gonna go to Frisch's. We're gonna see how this goes.
Right.
Now look at us.
So I think it's very interesting when I think about, like, you know, once again, in college, the barometer is much lower.
It is.
Because you're allowed to be around each other more often. So it's like,
you can have those interactions.
If you and I just walk into a Wendy's together.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like we have to like go to like some extravagant, like we have to take a vacation together to form a friendship bond.
No, and we've said this on the podcast before. You're not going to start out that way. You shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
You should not.
You
can't travel with everybody.
That is to say, like, there are many excursions. There was one excursion I always wish I had gone on. I remember WXVU, the classical station, was doing a classical tour where you'd like go to Italy. And I remember I was working at Fifth Third at the time.
That would have been so cool.
And like it was only like $2,000 or something, where you could like spend a week on a tour boat and, you know, doing all these tours and
listening
stuff.
to the good music.
And and because I loved classical just enough, I remember like
it was a good station with good music.
Yeah.
I like thinking, classical music. I play it. So
that would be a fun thing to do. But being terrified of the idea of like, how am I going to hop on a plane and fly to Italy and listen to classical music all week? But like, that could be a good place to make some friends with some people.
Yeah.
Actually, so I did read this other article that told me like expatriates, people who travel abroad all the time, like people who do all that traveling, they have a hard time making friends because
they move so much.
They move so much, and normal people want to talk about like buying furniture and
they're like, no, I just went to France
they have no frame of reference
to get donuts.
Right. They have no frame of reference for normal people conversations. It's like, they're like, so when I was standing on this beach and then I went to Dubai and then I swam in a mud lake and the other normal people are like, that's nice. So anyway, what do you think that the school district's going to do about this mask mandate?
I'm telling you what, I
mundane conversations.
I saw this ottoman that was just to
that would
die
set my living room
for.
Off.
Listen,
right.
But that goes back to connections, though,
connections.
Right?
It's all about connections.
I mean, there are groups, especially with media now, social media and the internet and stuff. There are expatriates who. A lot of them are travel groups. A lot of them are YouTubers. A lot of them are like, I love the idea. They find ways
to monetize. And
they go to a place, they make their friends there, they move on to the next thing, kind of thing. Yeah.
I think I definitely want to spend some time, and probably not today because we're low on time. It's almost 9 o'clock. I got to go get my kids.
Yeah.
Parasocial relationships is a key factor in this conversation. The fact that part of the reason that we feel so disconnected and yet don't notice it on a daily basis is that we connect via these things. Because we're always on the phones connecting, and we get the little dopamine hit that normally we get from interacting human to human.
Right. So how many people are you connected with? Electronically. Right. I feel like, though, honestly,
it's a one-way connection. Many of them are one-way connections.
I feel like it still counts as a connection.
It doesn't.
I'm not going to necessarily let you onto my lawn or my living room, but there are people that I've connected with electronically on the social medias, and we have like this back and forth, or they post their kids, I post my kids, and that works.
I'm not saying there's not a value to it.
Okay.
That's not what I'm saying. But it is problematic because you'll have a populace that gets older and won't continue to be connected. So, I've spent so much of my time.
You have these electronic friends, but you don't have the real.
Right. And,
but maybe that's the way that the world is.
That's the way the world's going.
Maybe that's enough for a lot of people.
It actually isn't.
Are you sure?
People are still sad and lonely.
Okay, so you're talking about people that are like, I've only connected with people electronically. I don't have any true in-person friends that can hug me, that could
that could be there for me, that will help me through the hard times, that I don't feel like I'm alone. So I don't eat lunch by myself every day. Like, it's fun to sit at lunch and watch Kev on Stage videos, but Kev on Stage isn't going to be there for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like when your mom dies or something like that. Oh, God. I mean, I don't mean
Why'd you have to kill my mom in that scenario? But I get what you're saying.
You know,
in times of grief, Kev on Stage is not going to be there for me.
No,
because it's a one-way relationship.
It is,
love the guy as a comedian. Because of the internet, I have a great access to his life, and it can feel as if we're sharing jokes every day.
You
but in
have
reality,
a great back and forth with your doppelganger.
I have a weird.
I can't unsee it now. It's very
Diallo Riddle,
weird.
who I've mentioned on the show as my doppelganger.
It's very weird for me.
He's a
South
new
Side's
season
back
of
on.
South Side
Holy
season 2.
cow! It's the best.
not the highest of recommendations.
Oh my gosh, just watch it
show.
And then watch it again.
Yes, because it's an amazing
watch
show.
It again.
Yes. And you'll get new jokes every time you watch it.
Every time.
But Southside's available on HBO Max.
Yeah.
And it's written by the guy who looks like me if you squint. Like his name is Diallo Riddle. And he's amazing, and his show's amazing.
It's
and we
hilarious.
occasionally talk via DM on Instagram, and it's always fun that he interacts with me as a fan.
It'd be weird to see y'all in the room.
It'd be very weird.
It would be very well. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be any different than seeing you and Addison in the same room. I mean, because you guys.
Yeah, but we're actually brothers. But this would be like a whole another dude.
Yeah,
and we also share like one of the reasons I like the show is it shares my dry sense of humor. Like it's a very dry, like it's a crisp, crisp champagne.
I mean, if you're talking about comedic acting, number one, the timing is impeccable.
Yes,
right, and then number two, the line reads.
Yes.
The way
they say things.
The way they say things.
This goes in an altered direction. You were not expecting it.
Oh, man.
And it's hilarious.
It's excellent.
Magnificent.
Yeah.
Yes. So, highly recommend the show Southside.
Definitely.
Making friends is awesome. Put yourself out there. Yep. Connect with people.
Yep.
And
you know what? If you're like at the stage like that we are, where we have a lot of friends that we've
collected a lot of people over the years.
Right.
But
think about reconnecting with those people if you haven't.
Finding ways to reconnect with them if you haven't.
Because I feel like you connected initially for a reason, right?
Yes.
And a lot of times you get back together and you're like, oh man, I miss your face.
They're good people.
I miss a lot of people, y'all. I mean, with the pandemic and stuff. So we're definitely trying to be very intentional about reconnecting.
And recognizing that even if time has passed, you might be able to form some of those relationships and reform them. Mm-hmm. You might not, and that's okay too. If the person has moved on and you're not able to connect in the same way you did before, then you gotta let them pass.
I've had situations where it was like I thought we were friends, and then we reconnected.
Yeah,
and it was worse than the first time.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay.
And that's okay. We're
not friends.
Not everybody's there. Not everybody's there.
I'm putting up boundaries.
That's all right.
We're not friends.
That's all right.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you got to sort of gauge it as it is.
You do. Yeah.
And it's interesting because, in speaking about parasocial relationships, like when we were younger, you watched Fresh Prince of Bel-Air every day. I used to think Will Smith was like my friend.
Yeah.
And then you realize, wait, that guy doesn't know me. Like, I know a bunch of stuff about him, but he doesn't know me at all. And he actually would be weirded out if I were to walk up to him and act like I know him. But people do it all the time.
People do it all the time.
Walk up to those people.
And it probably weirds celebrities.
Well, it's like he was a people pleaser, as you found out from his book. Yeah. I feel like I'm going to do a whole episode on.
We're going to talk about his book. We're going to read it first, and then maybe we'll do like a synopsis of,
right.
Because I think it's going to be a fascinating book.
I think it's going to be a fascinating book. I've heard some good things and been watching some things, so I think it'll be great to talk about.
Yeah.
And a good to study. I think he's a good case study in, what happens, how do people become so people pleasy, and
Yeah, I feel like that's something that a lot of us struggle with, and that would be a good sort of.
Well, what's a defense mechanism? And to be honest, there are ways in which it's not a bad defense mechanism. It could be, you can get pretty far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it can be adaptive in some ways and maladaptive in others, as with anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, too much of anything is bad, right? Like as they say, but I feel like there is a people-pleasing side to me that's gotten me.
It allowed you to make inroads. It's allowed
me to, exactly. I mean, you kind of know if you're looking back at those moments, you know what they are. Yeah. Right. You know what it kind of means. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So it's about time to wrap it up, I think. The clock's coming around.
It is. I'm sure the kids are tired and Mama needs us to come and get them.
And ready to go home. So
there, yeah. You know what the music means.
I know what the music means. Our time is up.
I say good day, sir.
I say good day. The Hallspace Podcast is brought to you by Hall Productions, LLC. Show notes and credits can be found at our webpage, thehallspacepodcast.wordpress.com. Any questions, comments, or concerns can be sent to us at thehallspacepodcast@gmail.com. The show is written by Daggerpin Davis. Music is curated by DJ Cabal. The show is produced by Chuck Jones and recorded at Slash and Trash Studios. If If you like what you hear and you want to hear more, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a good week. We should do a joke thing at the end. Like they come back and we're like, but I have to have a button.
Are you still, it's kind of like the Ferris Bueller. Are you still here? The movie's over. Go. Oh, we could do that every time.
Nah,
Show is over. Go. No, you don't like it? Okay.
No, I don't want to do that every time, but I'll find a way.
You find something that you agree to.
House Hall. We rise brilliantly.